What's up, guys? Welcome back to Carnegie Studios. In this lesson, we'll be covering developing your practice routine. So having a practice routine is very, very important and crucial to your growth as a pianist, as a piano player, whatever you want to call yourself. The separator between somebody who starts and stops and fails and says, oh, I tried that once and it didn't take, versus somebody who is successful in varying degrees is a practice routine and consistency. Doing that separates you from the pack, and that's in all walks of life, actually. So what does a practice routine look like? Oftentimes you want to practice minimum 3 to 5 times a week. Ideally it's 7 days a week, and that's 30 minutes on days that you have less time, right? 15 to 30 minutes. And on days where you have more time, I would encourage 1 to 2 hours to dive into these different topics that we're going to talk about. So the first part of your practice routine, and I'm going to talk about 3 different things that can encompass your practice routine. The first part of your practice routine are your scales and chords, practicing that or warming up with that. So you'll warm up practicing your scales, practicing your chords, chord inversions. Those are the foundational building blocks to be able to play on the piano. If you master those or become comfortable enough to play those well, you'll be set in learning and growing at a decent pace. Take whatever you can afford to in your bandwidth. If that's 1 scale a day, do that. If that's 3 scales a day, do that. If it's 4, I wouldn't recommend over 4, right? Unless you know all 12 scales, all major scales, minor scales, whatever you're practicing. So yeah, and you want to start with the basics, major, minor, and then you can get into the other stuff later on. The second thing, or second aspect of your practice routine, are your theory and chord progressions. So what are you learning? What is something that is in the track or in the genre that you want to learn that is theory that you can apply to whatever it is that you're working on? That's something big. Obviously, as a beginner, there are going to be chord progressions that you should know and practice those. But whatever it is, if you need to practice theory pertaining to gospel, if you read music, disclaimer, I don't read music, I read chord charts and I play by ear. So if you read music, that's sight reading and the whatever it is that you practice in reading music. If it's playing by ear, that is your chord progressions, whatever. If it's specifically gospel, those specific chord progressions, those specific chords, all that. If it's classical music, it's that. Whatever it is that you need to practice in order to further your theory and your genre, that is going to help tremendously. You're taking your scales and your chords and you're applying that to the chord progression, the voicings of specific chords. They're building blocks from that part 1 going into part 2. And part 1 and part 2 of your practice schedule or practice routine will play a major factor in part 3, which is your repertoire. Your repertoire should consist of whatever it is that you want to play or you need to play, depending on what you're playing for. For me, when I was starting out and I was a beginner playing piano, my repertoire was whatever I wanted because I heard a song that I wanted to play and I was going to do that. As I got older, I began serving in church, and so my repertoire changed to the set list for that week, and it changed to common worship songs at my church that were played. So I learned those and memorized those songs and became comfortable with those types of chords and chord progressions so that I could be successful in leading worship and playing piano in a worship team. Whatever it is that your genre, your repertoire genre is for the needs, that's what you can practice towards, and whatever it is that you want. And a bonus tip or last thing that you can practice in your practice routine to add to it is something that you're comfortable with that makes you feel joy. Oftentimes you'll practice and it'll be something difficult. It may not be something that you like to do. It's monotonous from time to time. But if you end with something that you enjoy, it wraps things up and you're like, okay, all right, this is something I like to do. Let me move on to, when I go to the next lesson, it'll be something even better. So that's what I have, guys. Please like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video.